All right, so for PT11, game number 1, it says 8 camp counselors, F, G, H, J, K, L, N, and O. So I'm going to write this down. So we're saying we have F, G, H, J, K, L, N, and O must be assigned to supervise exactly one of 3 activities: swimming, tennis, or volleyball. The assignments of the counselors must conform to the following. So the big things to pay attention to here is that we're saying that each of these 8 camp counselors have to be assigned to one of 3. So they're all going to be used. So that's important. And they're either going to go into swimming, they're going to go into tennis, or they're going to go into volleyball. So we have 3 options. So this is, since we have 3 groups, this is going to be a grouping game. So each activity is supervised by at least 2, but not more than 3 of the 8 counselors. So for this, I'm going to just write on my diagram below that there's going to be, I'm going to put 2 here under each of them, because I know there's at least 2, but it can't be greater than 3. So I normally just like kind of like circle 3, like, hey, 3 is the max. But what I want to pay attention to when I do this one is if there's only 8 people and the maximum that one activity can have is 3, that means that 2 of these are going to have 3 and 1 is going to have 2, because that would give us 6, 7, 8. All right, so now we're going to move on to rule number 2, where it says Henry supervises swimming. Well, I love this rule because we can just put Henry right into swimming and cross Henry out. Neither K nor O supervise tennis. So I'm going to go for rule number 3. I'm going to go under tennis and just put K can't be here and O cannot be here. And why this is important is then where can K and O go? We know that K and O either has to be an S or V. And I'm going to put a dot under them because we use them for something. All right, so let's go on to rule number 4. And it says neither K nor N supervise the same activity as Jones. So for this one, what this means is like if we have Jones, then we don't have Nathan. And if we have Joan, then we don't have Kathy. All right. And then lastly, we're going to have if George supervises swimming. So if George is in swimming, then we have N and O both do volleyball. So N to volleyball and O to volleyball. Fabulous. All right, so I like to use world on grouping games. I know that there's a debate on if this is a faster time limit or not. On harder grouping games, I think you have to do worlds, but for not have to, but it's good to know how to do them. So what I'm thinking of, I want to go to my most restrained variable. And I'm thinking that K and O are very restrained. G is really restrained, as in like if G is an S, we know where a lot of things go. And I think that's probably what I would do my worlds based on. I'm not going to fill them out completely. I'm literally just going to come down here and I'm going to redraw it just so I have it. I'm just going to make 2 real quick if I was taking the test. I'm going to copy over everything that I know. And then in one of them, I'm just going to put G in swimming. And in the other one, I'm just going to put G not in swimming. Because I know that when G is in swimming, I'm going to give me some labels just so it's easier for us. I know that when G is in swimming, that N and O are in volleyball. So I can put that right in. And I know that J cannot be with N. So I know that this is not J. I know that this is not K. And this is not O. And then I know, I think that's it. So from here, I would just go into my questions. So for the first one, I like to read through So each activity is supervised by at least 2, but not more than 3 of the 8 counselors. So I'm just going to check to make sure that we have this. So for the first rule, swimming has 3, tennis has 2, volleyball has 3. That's good. Swimming has 3, tennis has 3, volleyball has 2. That's good. Swimming has 2, tennis has, so here tennis has 4, so I'm going to cross C off. And D, swimming has 3, tennis has 2, volleyball has 3. E, swimming has 2, tennis has 3, volleyball, that's good. So Henry supervises swimming, so I'm going to go through and make sure for each of these Henry is in swimming, which he is, so that one's good. For rule 3, K and O cannot be in tennis. So I can cross off E because Kathy's in tennis here. For 4, neither Cassie nor Nathan supervise the same as Joan. So I'm gonna look for Joan and make sure that she's not with J or N. A's good. B's good. And D does not work because Joan is with Kathy here. All right, and then lastly, if George supervises swimming, so I'm gonna look for if George is in swimming and that happens in A and B, then N and O have to be in volleyball. And we have that in A, but it doesn't happen in B. And so our correct answer for number 1 is going to be A. What I do after I do the typical first question, I'm one that goes on and does my if questions first, just because I think they're easier. And so for this one, it says, if George and Kathy are 2 of the 3 counselors supervised to swimming, which of the following could be true? So I'm going to look at my world. So I have 1 and I have world 2. This is swimming, tennis, and volleyball. And so I'm looking at, okay, I know I'm working with world 1. So I'm going to put, just for I'm just going to put K in here. So if George and Kathy are the ones that are assigned to swimming, what could be true? So could Fran supervise swimming? No, because we already have 3 people. B, Henry supervises tennis? No, because Henry has to be in swimming. C, Jay supervises volleyball? No, because we have that Jay cannot be here. D, L supervises volleyball? I think this one could be true because I have nothing restricting it. And then E, Nathan supervises tennis? No, because we have N in volleyball. And so our answer is going to be D. All right, and now I'm going to go on to number 5. So it says, if Fran and Lewis are 2 or 3 counselors assigned to supervise swimming, which of the following must be true of the assignment? So I'm looking down. So Fran and Lewis are 2 of the 3 assigned to swimming. I know we can't use world 1 because we already have 2 people there, and the maximum we can have is 3. And so I'm going to put Fran and Lewis in over here. So I have my 3 here. And this is actually supposed to say not K and not O here, just FYI. Which, if then I'm looking at, okay, so if I have H and L in swimming, then I know that since K and O cannot be in tennis, just for this scenario, that K and O must be here. So let's see what must be true. So A, George supervises volleyball. No, that does not have to be true because George could be in tennis. B, H supervises volleyball. No, because H has to be in swimming. C, J supervises tennis. I'm going to leave that one open for a second because I don't have anything restricting J, but I don't have all my rules. If J can't be where N and O are, I'm going to leave that one open. I don't think it must be true, but we'll see. D, K supervises swimming. That definitely doesn't have to be true because K has to be in volleyball. And then E, Nathan supervises tennis. Okay, so I have 2 and I don't know exactly where these happen. So I'm going to have to figure this out. And so I'm going to look here for a second and play with my rules now that I know I'm debating between 2. And I'm looking at K. I'm going to look for K and O and like, do I have a rule restricting one of those that is going to help me determine where something goes? And I remember like, oh, well, if I have J, I can't have K and N. So that means if I have K or N, I can't have J. Well, here I have K. And so that means I can't have J here. So the only place for J to go is in T. And if I have J here, This means I can't have N here. So actually the other one here would be N. We would have K, O, and N, which one of our answer choices is that Joan supervises tennis, and that would be our correct answer. Right, so then for number 6, it says, if Joan is assigned to supervise the same activity as Olga, which of the following cannot be true? So this is like what cannot happen. So if we have J and O together. Well, I know that we can't have J and O together in world number 1. So I'm looking at world number 2, and I'm thinking, okay, so where could J and O potentially go? I guess J and O could go in swimming, or I'm thinking that it could, I'm going to draw another one beneath here. I would do this quickly on the test. And I'm thinking that J and O could also go in volleyball. And if we have J and O, we can't have N and N here. And I know that if we have J here, we can't have N or K here. So I know in this top one, K would be here, but let's see. So Fran supervises swimming. Could that be true? I don't really know. So I'm going to leave that one open. I'm going to go on to B and read this one. George supervises swimming. I don't, ooh, this cannot be true. I literally have George cannot be here in this one. And so I'm going to go ahead and select that one and I would move on. But C, because we would also have George can't be here down below. C, Kathy supervises volleyball. That could be true. We have that happening literally right here. E, Lewis supervises volleyball. I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen. And then E, Nathan supervises tennis. Yeah, once again, I don't have any restrictions. Since I literally have this prediction, I would select B and I would move on. Then now I'm going to go back and do my world, like we call like the world pick questions or the which, what, when questions. So which of the following pair of counselors who could be 2 of the 3 assigned to supervise swimming? So we're automatically saying that there's 3 going to be here for swimming. And I know that one of them is going to be H no matter what. And so when I'm going to look through and say like, okay, so could it ever be G and N? Well, if I look at world 1, whenever I have G here, I know N is in volleyball, so I'm going to cross that off. Can it ever be G and O? Well, for the same reason, like when I have G in swimming, I have O over here, so that doesn't work. C says J and K. I don't have any reason to cross that one off right now, like why it couldn't work, so I'm going to leave it for a second and go on to D, where it says J and N. So if it was J and N, it would have to be in world number 2, so I would probably put J and N here quickly. But I'm like, oh wait, J and N cannot be together because of rule number 4. So I would cross that one off. And then E says J and O. And so once again, I would do I know that this would have to be world number 2, so I'm just going to erase that N in there and put an O. And if it is J and O, then I know that K has to go here. I know that K cannot be with N, so this would have to be N. And then if G is in swim, or G's not in swimming, so it doesn't matter. So I would leave this one for a second. I need to look and see who else I have left that I have to even work with. So I have F in this one. I have not G, so I would have to put, I have G, I have to place H, J, K, L, I have L, I have to place, N, I have O. So these 3 would have to go somewhere. I think that this one works. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. So I like this one, but let's go up and try the other one just to make sure it doesn't work. So we have J and K in swimming. And so this one would be an example of our second world where we have H already here. So we would also have J and we would also have K. Oh, this was dumb. I should have crossed this one off right away. We can't have J and K together for the same reason. So yeah, I should have gotten that one like way faster than I did, but our answer is going to be E. And then when we go on to 3, let me erase these out for us. It says, which of the following could be a pair of counselors who could be supervised or could be together to supervise tennis? All right, so I'm gonna look at this. I'm like, I know, okay, so I know it's nothing that has H in it because I always have H in swimming. So I'm gonna cross C off right away just because it has Henry. And now I'm gonna look at A. F and K. What world? Okay, well, I know K can't be in tennis, so I'm gonna cross that off. And I see here that O can't be in tennis, so I'm just gonna look through really quick and cross anything off that has K or is O. So I got rid of three answers real fast just because of that. And now I'm gonna look at G and N or J and N. Um, I just remember this one rule over here where we talk about, oh, if you have J, you can't have N. Well, that would cross D off, and that's why our answer would be B. And that's how I would solve this game. I believe that the suggested time for this game is, I actually don't have it in front of me, but I will put it in the notes. I hope this helps.